Hola, buenas noches. Good evening. My name is Abelardo de la Peña Jr. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications with La Plaza de Cultura y Artes. Here, hold on, hold on. And I'm back. I was double talking there. Anyway, thank you for joining us on En Casa con la Plaza, brought to you by the La Plaza de Cultura y Artes and our sponsors, which include Kaiser Permanente, Aetna CVS, Union Pacific Foundation, California Humanities, the National Endowment for the Humanities, and the Institute for Museum and Library Services. They bring to you these sessions that we've been broadcasting since April of 2020. So it's almost 2 years now. Again, due to the pandemic, our live programming has been curtailed somewhat, but starting next month, we begin again with outdoor programming. A couple updates on La Plaza de Cultura y Artes. We've been open now since last July, and we keep our schedule of Tuesday through Monday, closed only on Wednesday through Monday, we're open, and we're closed on Tuesdays with full exhibition schedule, which includes our permanent exhibitions, let's see, Calle Principal, LA starts here. And then also, for a limited time, only till the middle of February, Carlos Samaras, Evolution of Form, which is on the second floor. And most recently, we displayed a beautiful painting by Frank Romero going to the 1984 Olympics. And of course, our most recent exhibition, Patriotism in Conflict, Fighting for Country and Comunidad, which is centered around the Chicano moratorium of 1970, which took place in East LA. So I'm looking for some information here that I want to introduce our guest. Well, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our host, Dr. Jose Luis Ruiz, who's the president of the Mexican American Cultural Educational Foundation, and he'll tell you all about it. And let's bring up Dr. Jose Luis Ruiz. Please join us.
Hello, Abelardo. Good evening, friends. Good evening. What an amazing opportunity to celebrate one of our most beloved and respected directors, and I'm very proud to have this event. I was going to say, can we see right now my slide right here that says Mexican American History Maker?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay,
Dr.
beautiful, beautiful. So, my friends, my name is Dr. Jose Luis Ruiz, and I'm the president of the Mexican American Cultural Education Foundation. And our mission is to change the distorted narrative of Mexican Americans. And, you know, we know why we need to do it. You know, a lot of people ask me all the time, well, why only Mexican Americans? And to me, it's very important that we understand and we cannot forget the history of our people for over 200 years. You know, the tremendous abuse and the very negative narrative that has been said about Mexicans, and it is a shame because it is completely unfounded. You know, we Mexican Americans have contributed to this country in endless ways. We've been here for before America existed. Mexicans were in this land, and we invented the cowboy culture. And you know what is funny is although we've been here, you know, for hundreds of years, we still seem to be the newcomers, the newcomer invaders in this country, and that's extremely unfair, and it's silly actually when you think about it, right? Even myself, which is kind of an interesting story, even myself, who I am an immigrant, and I've been here in this country for a few decades. But you know that picture that you see on the right, that is actually, I had totally forgot about this until, you know, a couple of years ago that I was looking at super old photos, and I found this photo right here. That's my grandfather, my great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather, in fact, who was born in Texas before the turn of the century. And then his son went to war, to fought in the Second World War. So so my family, in fact, although I'm an immigrant, but my family actually has roots in America already for decades and decades. And all Mexicans, we do. So we're not newcomers, and that is not fair that we are seen like that. We contributed to this country in endless ways. And that's why we need an organization that reminds us of that, because our story is different. Again, why Mexican American and not Latinos? Because our story is very different than a lot of other Latinos, and we need to make sure that we correct it. You know, if we're Cubans, or if we're Puerto Ricans, or Argentinians, or Spaniards, or, you know, Colombians, we're the cool Latinos. You know, you get a lot of opportunities, and if you're Mexican, then we are those darn Mexicans. And that needs to change, my friends. We're tired of this. I don't know, are you tired of this? Are we tired to be always portrayed in Hollywood as the worst possible? You know, always look at the negative things about our culture. And yeah, of course, there's negative things, but there's negative things in every culture, right? The reality of who we are is we're 40 million Americans of Mexican descent with great stories, you know, that have contributed for hundreds of years to this country. And the story needs to change. And we are so, you know, we have so much to be proud of. You know, we don't come from, as sometimes people portray, that we come from this drug-infested country with no value. I mean, we come from a country that is the 15th largest economy of the world, a country that has so much culture and so much history, which, you know, which the US, America has benefited from. We have so much culture, so much history, that we have more museums than anywhere in the world. So much art. And of course, we the Mexican American Cultural Education Foundation, we're fighting to give the opportunity to change this narrative. And we do that by providing scholarships, by providing grants for film, for great stories to be made. We invite you to participate in the Mexican American Film and Television Festival, which is going to be in May 14 and 15. And of course, one of the things that we are the most excited about, and that is honoring Mexican American history makers. You know, one way in which we celebrate our culture is honor our people that have contributed to this country in so many ways. And of course, we have in the past had some outstanding people, and today we have somebody that I'm so excited to have the opportunity to chat with, to introduce to you. And I know many of you who, if you're in the film industry, and I know many of you are going to be seeing this and on Facebook, on our website, on the La Plaza website, and you need to know Jesús Salvador Treviño. You need to know that he is one of the most successful television and film directors. That he has an amazing story to tell. He's received dozens of awards of all sorts of organizations that have honored him because of his great achievement as a director. He's been an activist from the beginning, and he's written a book which, you know, we will chat a little bit about, which is called Eyewitness, a filmmaker's memoir of the Chicano movement, which is an amazing document. I've had the honor of reading that book, and I can tell you, it tells a story. When Jesus talks about his experience, I tell you, it really makes us realize how important it is to understand the difficulties and also the advantages of being a Chicano Mexican American. So without any more introduction, may I please introduce to you, my friends, director Jesús Salvador Treviño.
Here I
Jesus, how
am.
are you? Good evening.
Yes.
We
Here
are
I
going to
am.
have the amazing opportunity to learn about your life and how you became this amazing director. What a great opportunity.
Well, thank you for hosting me, and I look forward to having a little conversation, and you know, listening to to what people may ask and find out. So I'll try to put on a good act, a good show here for you.
Well, my friend, you're a pro, so we know that that's something that you for sure can do. So well, we want to know a lot about you, Jesus, and I want to start by you know, I read your book. I learned so much about your background. And just as we were saying how we Mexican Americans have been here for a very long time, you, in fact, my friend, you represent that. Your family has been in the US since the 1700s, you know, and so your family's been in Texas for hundreds of years, and the Treviños, and you were born in Texas, in fact, and what do you remember about that? What are your memories about your life in Texas?
Well, I was a young kid. I was born in El Paso, Texas, and I lived in El Paso in what's called Segundo Barrio, which is the poorest neighborhood there. And I'm told by my mother that when I was about two or 3 years old, they used to dress me up as a little pachuco, because the term pachuco or chuco comes from El Paso. And but you know, the Treviños have been in southern Texas for years and years, and I haven't traced all my family line down, but I do know that I've seen a headstone that has Jose Treviño, and it was dated 1700. So I know we go back that far at least, and that was in Texas, in southern Texas. But you know, what I remember is that as I was growing up, I would spend the summers in Juarez with my grandparents and my cousins. And so every summer I would go to El Paso, and I would spend a couple of months there. I got to know the El Paso Library very well, because every day I'd cross over on the bus and go from Juarez to El Paso, go to the library, and that's how I discovered books and how I discovered music. My first blues and music I learned from there. So it was a very rich experience, bilingual, bicultural, and living, you know, on both sides of the frontera, and that I think later did me well, because it made me really appreciate the value of our community and the strengths of our community, the richness of our culture. All of that was very important.
And for sure, you have throughout your career, you know, for decades, you have shown your love for your culture, for your people, and I wonder what inspired you to be an activist, to give back so much that you have given, and also what inspired you to be, you know, to work so hard to be as successful as you have been as a television and film director. There has to be something in your life, your family. You know, I'm sure our young audience and people that are listening and that will view this video will want to know what is it that makes a person so successful? Share with us. I mean, what we want to learn from you.
Well, you know, I must confess that growing up, I was a victim, as many of my generation, of being told that we as Mexicanos were inferior. And I grew up with a sense of inferiority about myself as a Mexicano. I desperately wanted to be white. And it wasn't until the Chicano Movement came by in 1968, when the walkouts began to happen, that all of a sudden I realized the kind of discrimination that we had been living under for years. And all of a sudden I realized that there was value in who I was. And I saw a whole younger generation, my contemporaries at the time, taking to the streets and demanding justice and demanding better education. And this was a pivotal point in my life because it really turned me around. And I realized that what they were arguing for was what I wanted, which was a better life, not just for myself, but for my community. And that we were not an inferior people, but that we had a lot of value to us, that we had a rich culture. And all of a sudden I decided that I really needed to get involved in this civil rights movement and become an activist. And I think a couple of months after the walkouts, I had the opportunity to meet Cesar Chavez. And I went up to Delano with a food drive that I had organized. And we had boxes of canned foods for the farm workers. And we met with Cesar. And I was so impressed by this humble man, dressed very modestly, who was speaking about human dignity, about the dignity of the farm worker, about the injustices that were being leveled on us, and about the importance of fighting for our own well-being and for justice. And I came back from that meeting with Chavez determined to devote my life to the things that I felt would better our community. And at the time, I had picked up already a Super 8 camera, and I decided that I was going to use that camera and media as much as I could to advance our community and its concerns.
Wow. Well, that's a very powerful reason to be motivated, right? What an amazing opportunity. Yeah, I mean, you were in the thick of things, my friend. We know that you were right in the middle with your Super 8 camera, filming some of those momentous historical events where people were attacked and what do you remember? I mean, now let's go specific into those moments in history which are so important and we cannot forget. And that's one of the important things about this Mexican American History Maker event, that many of us don't know the things that our community had to live with, like the slides that I showed earlier. Not many people remember that in the 50s and 60s, as early or as late as 50s and 60s, there were signs on the street saying no Mexicans or blacks or dogs. And so we need to remember this, and we need for you to remind us about this moment, this time in history that you recorded with your camera.
Well, I was very fortunate because I happened to be at KCET in 1970, 71, and I was able to be a part and to go to where the action was, so to speak. And I got a chance to meet with the then activist leaders, not just Cesar Chavez, but Dolores Huerta, Reyes Lopez Tijerina, who led the land grant struggle in New Mexico, Rodolfo Corky Gonzalez with his crusade for justice in Denver, Colorado, and Jose Angel Gutierrez, who created a political party made up of Mexican Americans in Texas, the Raza Unida Party, the United People Party. Mm-hmm. And it was in meeting with these people that I was able to not just get a really profound understanding of the struggles of our community across the Southwest, but also I think I walked away from meeting these people with the knowledge, the inspiration that they were passionate people and they were passionate about justice. They were passionate about changing America for our community, whether it was, as Jose Angel Gutierrez was doing, with political enfranchisement and the right to vote and getting our people political power, or whether it was the Crusade for Justice, Corky Gonzalez, creating an organization that was self-help, that was economic in nature, trying to create an economic base for our community, or whether it was Cesar Chavez with the farm workers movement, or whether it was Reyes Lopez Tijerina with the land grant movement. All of these people shared one thing in common. They had passion. They had passion for justice. And I think that's something that has stayed with me all these years.
Wow, very, 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 very powerful. And we're gonna get back to that in a little bit, but I wanna regress a little bit, my friend, and talk about education, because we know that the one thing that allow you to achieve your level of success as a director was your education. And I know that, and based on reading your book, I know that a lot of things have to do with your time in Occidental College, or maybe not a lot of things, but there was a turning point at that moment that I want to hear about that, because this is going to help our young audience who may be thinking, should I go to school? And if I go to school, what? And what's your story there, my friend?
Well, I went to Occidental College on a scholarship. It was one of the very early scholarships that was given to Mexican Americans. I think they recognized in me some value. And I must say that my experience at Occidental started off very rocky. I really had culture shock, because I was in a school, I think in my freshman year, well, at the time, I think in all of Occidental College, there were something like 2,000 students. It's a small liberal arts college. And of that, there were only 10 of us that were Mexican American. So that's how rare we were. And it was a culture shock for me to see these predominantly Caucasian young people, my classmates, who came from, many of them from privileged backgrounds, had much more money than my family did. And so I felt like a fish out of water. I didn't know what I was doing there, but I stuck with it. And that was important, because I did get a 4-year education. And at the end of my education was when the Chicano movement happened. And so I had been infusing in myself this knowledge and this thirst for knowledge and for education. And when the Chicano movement came, I now had some place to direct that energy and that knowledge and those goals. And that's what I did. I became intensely involved in the Chicano Civil Rights movement. I gravitated toward filmmaking, and within the next few years, I was hired KCT, the public broadcast station in Los Angeles, and I became a producer there. And from there, I did many, many documentaries and television shows. I had my own television show, Acción Chicano. And then I went forward, and then I got involved in documentary filmmaking as well. This is me doing the production of Yo Soy Chicano. And so I became actively involved, and all of this, again, motivated by my desire to put media to work on behalf of our community. Because at the time, there was virtually no presence of Latinos, contemporary Latinos, on television or in the movies. Now, we had, of course, the legends that had gone before, the previous generation, the Ricardo Montalbans, the Anthony Quinns, the Cesar Romeros. But in terms of my generation, the baby boom generation, there was virtually none of us involved in motion pictures or television. And it was up to our generation and people not just like myself, but people like Moctezuma Esparza and Sylvia Morales and Jose Luis Ruiz and certainly Luis Valdez and others that became involved in the media. And it was up to our generation to begin to change things. And I think over a period of time, we have made some changes and we have made some progress.
For sure, for sure. You have contributed in endless ways. You know, there is something that I sometimes distresses me a little bit, and that is that because of it's something that sometimes we don't realize, but there is certain genetic damage that happens when we keep being told that we are not good, when we keep being told that we come from a place that is not worth it, when we are and we become negative about ourselves, and when we see somebody trying to be more successful and trying to get into a different environment, sometimes we have our people, our own people, ourselves. We have people that say, well, this person wants to, they don't want to be Mexican anymore, Mexican American or Latino. Did you have that experience as a student? And I bring this up because I'm sure that some of our young viewers may have this experience, and knowing how you overcome this or how you feel about it may make a difference in their life.
Well, certainly as I was growing up, the role models for me as a Mexicano were the gardener, the people working in the back of the kitchen. You know, there were very few positive role models at the time. You know, I didn't have a whole array of doctors and scientists and educators to look after, to say, oh, I want to be like them. And so I did develop an inferiority complex there for a while. But I think it was, I think the liberating thing about the Chicano movement was it said to me, you know, you can be anything you want. And it took the notion that I was somehow limited, that somehow there was barriers for me. I refused to accept that anymore. And that was partially also because I saw what leaders like Cesar Chavez or Dolores Huerta or some of the other people were doing. And they weren't taking no for an answer. They were actively doing things. And I could see that the area that I had to move into was the media, and to say, you know, we can take over the media. And we must be forthright and try to figure out how to gain, first of all, the mastery of the technology, which we did, and then begin to break some of those barriers. And my generation of filmmakers first started with documentaries, and then during the 70s, and then beginning into the 80s, we started doing feature films, long form films, and television, and we moved on. And certainly there is much area to grow yet, but we did make an impact, and I think we have a much more to do. But I think we now have also established organizations that also champion Latinos in the media. Your organization, of course, is one of them, the Mexican American Education Foundation. But we also have the Directors Guild of America Latino Committee, the Writers Guild Latino Committee, the SAG, the Screen Actors Guild Committee. I mean, there's our presence is in Hollywood now. And we are now beginning to see more and more people having breakthroughs in mainstream media.
Yeah, and of course we owe all of that to people like you and Moctezuma and so many others. They have really broken that barrier, right? Now, we want to also for our audience, we want to ask you. I mean, film industry is a very difficult industry to break into, and you did. Now, speaking a little selfishly, wanting to know what your secret is, what the secret sauce it is that made, that allow you to, and if somebody's thinking out there, oh my goodness, I want to be a director. What are the things, how do you achieve this success? How do you break through? Give us, I'm sure that you could have a 2-hour conversation or maybe a full day conversation on this, but just give us a few nuggets of information so we can all get excited and think that we want to be directors.
Well, I must say you cannot do it alone. And I was fortunate because throughout my career, I have had mentors. I have had people that have been there for me and who believed in me. And certainly, you know, you have to start with yourself. You have to have faith in yourself. You have to have faith in your ability to do things. You have to have faith that you can break those barriers. And you have to have a passion. You have to have a passion that keeps going even when you get knocked down. And that passion is what gets you up again and makes you go again into the struggle. But again, you cannot do it alone. And I was fortunate because I had a few key people along the way that opened doors for me or were supportive of me and allowed my creativity to flourish, for which I'm very grateful. One of them was Charles Allen at KCET, who gave me a number of opportunities, and who, when I said I want to do a film about Chicanos, and we're going to call it Yo Soy Chicano, he was supportive, and he helped me get the financing for it so that we could go forward. And then during the whole production, he didn't, no se metió. He let me just do my thing. And then he was very supportive. Once it was finished, there was a group that wanted to block its broadcast. It was called Accuracy in Media. It was a right-wing organization that didn't like the fact that I had featured Cesar Chavez and the farm workers struggle, or actually Dolores Huerta and the farm workers struggle in the film. And they wanted to block its broadcast, or they wanted equal time. And they wanted to put the growers on there. And this gentleman at KCET, Charles Allen, got the attorneys together and said, no way. This show is going to air broadcast nationally on PBS, the first PBS national broadcast film by a Chicano. And we're not going to censor it. And so again, it was people that were at my side and backing me up that helped a lot. But I think the lesson to learn is that when you get knocked down, you have to get back up and keep at it.
Yeah.
Because in this industry, Hollywood media is very difficult and harsh on people. And then you're likely to be defeated many times. You're going to be knocked down and disappointed. But if you let that stop you, then you're giving up. And I think the one thing I've learned is you don't give up. You just keep going, and eventually opportunities will come by, and you need to be there ready to take advantage of them. So
my friends, learn from somebody who has achieved that success. First, the passion, right? And if I understand clearly, it sounds like one of the things that gave you the passion and the motivation was your desire to help the community, the Chicano movement. That powerful desire to help others, and certainly the importance of reaching out and having mentors. And I know that now you're involved in trying to mentor young filmmakers as part of the mentorship program of the Mexican American Cultural Education Foundation, and we're very thankful for that. I know you're sharing that program, and we thank you for that, because we know how important it is to give role models and mentors to these young filmmakers. They're gonna change our story. They're gonna change the narrative. Well, we know that you've had dozens and dozens of awards by many of the film industry organizations. And I wanted to ask you, do you have any specific one of those events that you can recall that you want to tell us about?
Well, I've been fortunate in that my work has been recognized in the kind of external way that certainly you need to be a success in Hollywood. You need to get the awards and stuff. You know, I think awards are like IQ tests. It's what people measure, and so they may or may not have any reference to reality, but they're important anyway. You know, I would say that one of the films that I think was very important to me, that one of the awards that I won was the Directors Guild Award for a program that I did called Gangs. And what I like about it was that that program also won the New York Latino Film Festival Award for Best Film. And that award, what I liked about the award was that it was recognized on two fronts. The Directors Guild recognized it for its technical, professional, directorial quality. And my own community recognized it, the New York Latino Film Festival recognized it for the content, because I had treated of our community in a sensitive way and had made our film, our community, you know, dealt with our community in a very thoughtful and important way that was not stereotyped. And so I felt good about that award, because it really meant that I was doing good work, not just technically, but also the content, the theme. And what was so important for me, that I was being rewarded by my own community, that my own community could see the value in my work and was lauding it. And I think this has been one of the factors that I always consider. And one of the reasons why I continue even to this day after I've retired from TV directing. I have my website, Latinopia, and I continue to do videos for that, for our community. And it's their approval that I look for, the contributions that I make for, I hope, advancing our community.
Yeah, that's so special. We know that you directed, you know, some of the most recognizable TV shows in our generation. You know, endless, including Law and Order and NYPD Blue and Resurrection Blvd. Do you remember any special, you know, part of or any specific event during any of this amazing work that you've done that you want to share with us?
Well, you know, I think that I liked, I've done so many, I've done over 100 different kinds of shows. But the ones that stand out in my mind are Star Trek Voyager, Babylon 5, and Resurrection Blvd. And the one thing that they all have in common is that there were, in each show, there was a great family of people. And we all worked together as a family. There was so much respect and love from one to another. And we worked hard to do the shows that we were doing. But the important thing was that we were working together, creating something that was bigger than ourselves. And that was a particular show in question. And I think, you know, for us as Latinos, Resurrection Blvd certainly is for me just an incredible memory of work, because one, it was the first English language drama on American television series. It was written and executive produced by Dennis Leone, and he hired me to shoot the pilot. I directed the pilot, and then the pilot was accepted, and I became the supervising director and directed many of the episodes. And what was wonderful about that was, again, the sense of family, not just the cast, but the guest stars that would come on and the production crew itself. The story I tell was once we had finished the pilot, Showtime Paramount was very interested in doing a series. And we had a meeting, and we were going to start selecting people to work as the editor and as the cameraman and as, the different departments. And I had come prepared with a stack of resumes of Latinos, because it was a Latino show. So I figured, we're going to get, finally, this is our chance to get our opportunity. And of course, they listened to me, and then they said, well, this is the first time out for you guys. And we think that we should hire the very best talent there is, irrespective of whether they're Latino or not. And so that was telling me, oh, you don't think we have very talented people? And they said, well, we think that we should just get the best in each field. And then I said, and I looked over to Dennis Leone, who was my executive producer, and he and I had nurtured this project together. I said, well, I'm sure you can find a writer that is more credentialed than Dennis Leone, and I'm sure you can find a director that's more credentialed than me. So why don't you just not hire us and go hire someone else, and then you can do the first national show of Latinos on American television, and there won't be any Latinos behind the screen, the screen. And that shut them up.
Wow.
They said,
That's a lot of you were brave.
Let's look at the resumes.
You were very brave, and we're proud of you for that, because you were promoting and helping other people, and all of our people get opportunities. And I agree. I mean, what an important thing to do. Thank you so much for that. I'm wondering what advice would you give our young, people in this generation? They are Latino, Mexican American, and they maybe we can see that they're more and more involved in their culture, and that's such a good thing to see. We see a lot more of that happening today. Do you have any advice as an activist that you have been all your life? Do you have any advice for our young community in regards to activism, in regards to pride in their culture, specifically to that, my friend?
Well, I think you have to believe in yourself and in your ability to do things. And you can't let people tell you that you can't do something. And then comes a struggle to identify what it is you want to do. So you have to have some goals, short-term goals and long-term goals. And then you have to go after them with a passion, with tenacity. You can't give up. You have to be there every day. You have to get up and say, today, this is what I am doing. This is how I'm going to win today. And you have to do that every day. And the nice thing is that once you get into the rhythm of it, it becomes like second nature. You begin to make decisions based on how you can advance the things you believe in. And when it comes to education, I think that's very crucial, because the more education you have, the better armed you are to go into any kind of battle, to go into any kind of struggle. And so you need to equip yourself well. You don't want to go into a battle unarmed. And education is most important because of that. You have to get a good education. So college is essential, and then post-college, graduate school if possible. And then identify the field you want to go into. And certainly avail yourself of the new technology so that you don't need to have permission to pursue a career. You don't need to wait until you graduate to become a filmmaker. You can be a filmmaker without anything. You can just be a filmmaker. Do it. You can go to the internet. You can use your phone and make movies, you know, as a filmmaker. But maybe you don't want to be a filmmaker. Maybe you want to be a writer or a director, or maybe you want to go into education or into science. So you need to determine what it is you want to do and go after it with a passion.
Wonderful. Well, you know, I think a lot of the viewers will now have the opportunity to have a role model if their direction, if their wish is to be in the filmmaking industry, because you are one of those role models. Now we can look up to people that have achieved success, and we're so happy. I see many of our people in our community, like Jerry Velasco and Dag Guerrero, who are, you know, saying wonderful things about how proud they are of you, my friend Jesus, and we're so happy to see that. Thank you for those wonderful comments. I want to ask you what projects are you working right now that you're excited about? Could you share a little bit about your things that are making you excited these days?
Well, there's two. One of them, of course, is Latinopia. I started Latinopia 10 years ago. Every week I try to crank out a video. There's more than 500-600 videos on the site now, and they are videos about our community. They are art, literature, music, theater, cinema, food. And you can go there and you can find our artists, you can find our poets and our writers reading or reciting their works. You can see our musicians performing. You can see a number of, like I said, there's more than 500 videos on there that you can explore. And then there's a lot of written material as well, documents of our history and interviews with people. And so that's been a very exciting thing. And I'm again, it's my way of giving back to our community. And I welcome people to visit it. It's www.latinopia.com. The other thing is, on a personal level, is I'm 2 years into a novel. And so I've decided to, I've always wanted to write a novel. And so I am working on it now, and I hope to finish it this coming year.
Wow, how excited. Do you want to share anything about it?
It's
Not yet?
Not yet.
Okay, yeah, we don't want to give away too
Don't
much
jinx it.
details. All right, that sounds good. It sounds fair. Well, my friend, last question. You know, if you had a chance to talk to 10-year-old Jesus, and you were going to give him one piece of advice, the final piece of advice, what would it be?
I guess I would say to myself, do the same thing that you did, only do it smarter.
And how is that?
Well, I would take someone else to do it. Do it smarter.
Sure. My friend, what an amazing life. What an amazing experience. We had so much fun learning about your life and about all the contributions. And we are very thankful to La Plaza that they give us the opportunity to share their stories, and we will continue to do so. Next, in February, we have Senator Durazo, Maria Elena Durazo, who is going to be our next Mexican-American history maker. So stay tuned. And Abelardo, please take over, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Ruiz. Thank you very much, Jesus. I mean, very inspiring words. Great story that you tell. And your book is for sale somewhere, right?
Yes, it's available through Arte Publico Press. Let's see if I can show it here. There you are. It's hard to see. Can you see it? Anyway, it's available. There it is. It's Arte Publico Press. It's Eyewitness, a filmmaker's memoir of the Chicano movement.
All right. Well, thank you. And of course, your website, Latinopia. We posted it there on the chat feature here on Zoom. On Facebook, for some reason, it does not allow me, but it's LATINOPIA.com.
Right. It's the utopia for Latinos, Latinopia.
Incredible. All right. Well, we have a question here. A lot of comments, a lot of shout outs. We have Jerry Velasco saying Jesús Treviño is the man. Many people owe a lot to Jesús Treviño, including myself. He helped many of us to further our careers. Please support Latinos, La Plaza, and the Mexican American Cultural Educational Foundation. Si se puede, says Jerry Velasco. And of course, we have Dan Guerrero. Jesus is a good friend and one of my personal heroes. His contribution to our gente is beyond measure. He would shun the spotlight and the attention, but he is truly one of our unsung heroes. Sing out Jesus. So this was your opportunity, and we really appreciate you coming on. The question from Elias Serna. First of all, a little comment. Great lesson on getting up after letdowns, being ready, and standing up for Raza artists. Last week, the California Board of Education caved in to San Diego conservatives who accused ethnic studies teachers of using En Lakesh, You Are My Other Poem in class, saying it's demonic Aztec prayer, which is a lie. Even schools keep demonizing us on our heritage. Any thoughts? How can artists respond to this type of insult and misleading information?
En Lakesh is the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That's all it is. But because it has an origin that isn't the pilgrims, all of a sudden it becomes questionable and it becomes demonic. It's the most positive thing I've heard. But yes, En Lakesh has a really beautiful sentiment. It says that, you are my other self. If I do harm to you, I'm doing harm to myself. If I do well by you, if I do good to you, I'm doing good to myself. It's just the golden rule. And it's wonderful that it's coming from our culture, from our Mayan culture that goes back thousands of years. So, we still have a lot to teach America, evidently.
We sure do. And this is an opportunity. And of course, Dr. Ruiz's group, the Mexican American Cultural Education Foundation, that's its goal, to educate and to uplift and to provide opportunities. And thank you for being part of that effort, particularly with your mentoring of filmmakers. And if you go to Mexican American Cultural Foundation's website, you'll see information about what they're doing. And so you could keep up and get involved yourself, viewers. So thank you for that. Just a couple shout outs here. We have Nancy de los Santos, where she's, thank you. He's a hero to all Latino filmmakers. Jesus is a trailblazer. Rosa Maria Marquez, congratulations, Jesus. Continue your great work and gift to the community with Latinopia and the hundreds of stories and performances you've documented. There's more to do. What do you think? Is there more to do, Jesus?
There's always more to do, but you know what? What's great is we have the Nancy de los Santos, the Rosa Maria Marquez's, the Dennis Leones, all the wonderful, the Jerry Velasco's, all the wonderful actors and directors and writers and producers in our community now who are going forth to do it. And not just my generation, but the exciting new generation of people who are doing things.
Most definitely. And we have Yolanda Perez of Ama del Sol Productions, former member of Teatro Campesino, and was the musician on the special that Jesus Treviño produced featuring Daniel Valdez.
Hi, Oli.
All right. So you have some old friends tuning in here.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Jesus. Thank you, Dr. Ruiz, for your insightful questions that really brought up a lot of information and insights from Jesus. So thank you, viewers, for tuning in. If you came in late to today's broadcast, or if you want to watch it, we recorded it. We'll be posting it on our Facebook page at La Plaza LA, Facebook at La Plaza LA, and on our website, lapca.org. And of course, it lives on Facebook and on YouTube at La Plaza LA. we'll also share it with the Mexican American Cultural Education Foundation. They'll be posting it on their website as well.
Exactly.
And you could see all of MASEF's Mexican American history makers on our YouTube channel. So check them all out. Let's see, we'll talk a little bit about what's coming up on La Plaza de Cultura y Artes en Casa con La Plaza. We have tomorrow, Lalo Alcaraz, award-winning cartoonist and principal artist for COVIDLatino.org, talking about how he's fighting COVID with his cartoons. And that's Wednesday, January 19th at 7 p.m. And then on Friday, January 21st, Edule, an artist, musician, and songwriter and poet. She'll be talking about how she reflects and views the world through song. She'll be in conversation and performance, so she'll be singing some songs for us. We have some new messages coming in from our friends here on Zoom. The Golden Rule says, Elea Serna, Rosie Chavez, ese es mi hermano. Estoy orgullosa de ser su hermana. And Magdalena Iznaga saying, great interview. And I'll have to agree with that. All right, well, with that, thanks to our sponsors, again, CVS Health, Aetna, Union Pacific Foundation, Kaiser Permanente, California Humanities, the National Endowment for the Humanities, and the Institute of Museum and Library Sciences, and of course, my colleagues at La Plaza de Cultura y Artes. Check us out on our YouTube page, on our Facebook page, and come back soon. Jesus, we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Ruiz, we'll see you next month.
Until next time.
All
Have
right,
a great
bye-bye.
night. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, buenas noches a todos.
Buenas noches.